There's been a lot about D-Day and the 80-year-old veterans. Um, the 100-year-old veterans. My point is, I can testify as to what these men stand for as a generation because I knew some people from that generation. You see, the first half of the 20th century for the Americans, particularly the period of the American century, which was 40s and 50s, was simpler. There's a film that recently resurfaced called Let There Be Light. It's on YouTube. It's interviews with shell shock veterans before they had called it PTSD. These were homely, lackluster Gomer Pyles, Midwestern recruits who had been shocked senseless by the European war. These men are the source of what is derided by the elite and exemplary Russian leaders of today. And standing on formality as examples of American exceptionalism. The word American exceptionalism didn't really exist. Although the war may have been glorified, glorification was not really the issue. There was racism in America, that is true. But for the most part, these men just very simply thought, the world was less complicated. God controlled the weather, not men. There was no Dalai Lama of the spirit world presiding over enormous atomic explosions, negotiating our relationship with Allah. The hereafter was going to church on Sundays and hoping for the best. These men genuinely heard that fascism was going to try to tell them what to do, and so they said no. They said no, that's not how it's going to go. And they put a stop to it, and God bless Russia, they put a stop to it too. So, what kind of society do we live in? Now, our foreign policy has gone to the dogs. But I want to talk about the so-called special relationship with Israel. Most of us, the Nextdoor crowd on the Nextdoor app on my iPhone are watchdogs that sometimes you have to watch out for, but they're a neighborhood watch. And they're the sort of people who you like to believe, like yourself, would not understand how to, with being disinclined altogether to, and if you found out anything to the effect that something like an elderly scam was going on, they would put a stop to it and warn the victim right away. Well, all of that generation understood that something beyond the normal, wasn't even the horror stories of Boris Karloff. It was something that was a paranormal, unspeakable event befell Europeans' Jewry. And in all sincerity, they gave the Jews the benefit of the doubt. Well, The Jews, it turned out, were mobilizing and organizing to stick their fists deep in Americans' pockets in an elderly scam, to rip us off of our dignity, our key players, our future esteem before the world. They've been blacklisted by the United Nations, and we're supposedly their um, shield from global blacklisting for fairly good reason if you know what happened in Gaza. For very good reason, I should say. And the way they went about this crooked scam that they call in Washington, D.C., the special relationship with Israel, which, by the way, is gone. You can say goodbye to the special relationship with Israel. And don't try to tweak its way back with this stuff about anti-Semitism. Identifying the criminals is necessary, and you can call it whatever you please. People are going to do it. The scam that they ran, it was an epoch scam. The way it played out in my life was after they tortured me, gassed me, deafened me, gave me neurological injuries that led to Parkinson's, poisoned me, repeatedly tried to kill me by overdose. As a hostage child, being battered half to death, was a line in the sand, a red line, that they called a black belt in feminism. And they put all of this whoopy-doopy feminism to the crux of, are you cool? Or are you a crybaby? And they gesticulated and delectated over what they construed as feminazism, which was very simply sexual taunting by illicit girls. And you're supposed to be chivalrous about it. Go ahead, say what you will. I shall never compromise my virtue as a knight of resignation, which is basically the way I took the whole thing. The cruelty and psychosis of King Crimson was at work on a neurological injury. So you can guess what sort of Brian Eno-ish weirdos started getting zapped at me by Hollywood casts of characters, mobilized and paid for by Jeff N., by UW Shrinks, by Penis Gabriel. You can guess what sort of weirdness they came angling at me with. And it was destructive of my life, very destructive. And it was a cover, a diversion to manipulate text about what was going on when they released the AIDS attack, the sin war, the war on sin, the sin-filled slaughter of the supernova rave, with the croquet Gregusta Corona's World War II revenge flash in the pan, at the beck and call of Seattle queers working for Jeffen, who swear by the special relationship. Nosferatu, Bibi Nosferatu, brings grins to Oliver Stone's face when he talks about how insane Bibi Nosferatu is. Because they're cahooters. The special relationship with Israel, sad to say, was a backstab. It was a setup of pain. It was a setup of betrayal. It was a backstab, a ripper backstab, deep into our arsenal and self-esteem that they have no intention of giving up. So We have to cool it with them. We have to cool it with Israel. We have to join the picket and the boycott. We have to make clear that we too are putting Israel on a blacklist. We're not going to ask them to reform because we know they're too psychotic. We're going to wait and see if their processes of so-called democracy somehow serve them to get better, to heal, and to apologize. But we're not going to have a special relationship with them ever again.